Hey, how's everybody doing today? It's Chris Denny with Denny's Country Life. Today we're going to talk transfer tanks a little bit, and more specifically, looking at or purchasing a used one, and the cost benefits or possible downfalls, and versus the cost of buying new. And so in this case, what we're looking at is I calculated the dimensions of it. It is just shy of 40 gallons. It's like 39.2 gallons or so. And so I got this one from my local equipment auction, and purchase price for the tank with the pump, the filter, and a hose was $280. So then, because it's an auction, then you also have the buyer's premium and taxes on top of that. So if you buy a private party, let's say off Craigslist, you'd be money ahead there. So I had the benefit of being able. So this was an online only auction, but you can go look at the equipment. So I looked at it. It actually had about 5 gallons of diesel fuel in it. So that was a good indicator that it wasn't leaking. Typically, if these are going to leak, they're going to leak from the bottom. So reason for that being is if you get water, moisture over time in the transfer tank, it settles to the bottom and the fuel sits on top of it. So it'll sit there and just rust the bottom out. And the whole time you think you're good because it's full of diesel, and how can it rust if it's full of diesel? So that's something to be aware of. If you're purchasing a used one, make sure that it doesn't leak. If it's empty, ask the person if you can bring some diesel, just a couple gallons or whatever, and put it in the bottom and see if it leaks. If it does, the worst case, you're out maybe a couple gallons of diesel. It's a whole lot better than bringing it home, realizing that it leaks, and then having to repair it. So in my case, I have lots of welding equipment, fabricating equipment. So if this one did leak, people at the auction would have known about it. It would have had a puddle of diesel under it, or people would have, if it was empty, people would have shined a flashlight down in there and seen that it leaked, and it wouldn't have gone for very much money. I have the benefit of being able to repair something like that. I can cut the bottom off and weld a new bottom on it. So anyway, so after buyer's premium and tax, I paid $330 or so dollars. I think it was 332. Washington state tax is pretty high, and the auction people need to make their money, and rightfully so. So what was wrong with it? When I got this, obviously you change your filter out. That's just kind of a given. The hose was bad. It was very old. It was stiff, and it was kinked badly. So I purchased a new hose for it. This is a 1-inch hose, and I got a 14-foot long one from Tractor Supply. Yes, they probably don't have the best reputation, but this is not my primary fuel tank. I have a 300-gallon fuel tank in my barn. So this is only going to be used during hay season to fill my tractor up in the field. So the hose was bad, and the gun itself is probably good. The gun that you're looking at is also from Tractor Supply, and also doesn't have very good ratings on it. But the one that it came with was identical, and it was just full of crap, and more crap than I just purchased a brand new tractor, and I don't want to take the chance of cheaping out and cleaning out that gun, not doing a good enough job, and then getting a bunch of crap in my fuel, clogging up my fuel filter. So anyway, I opted to buy a new gun. So keeping in mind this transfer tank is going to be used for about 2 months, and maybe probably a total of 20 or 30 times a year. So I was willing to take the chance and buy lesser expensive stuff from Tractor Supply. Anyway, I also had to replace this bowl. So the petcock, or the drain, was clogged. It was packed full. And so in my attempt to try and use a dental tool to scrape that stuff out, like a dummy. I wasn't thinking about it. I used brake clean to try and break up the goo that cracked the housing. There are certain types of plastics that don't do well with brake clean. So anyway, it was my fault. So I had to buy one of those. So the pump works. Fortunately, the pump works, and it seems to work pretty darn good. Move a fair amount of fuel. I don't know at what rate that it does, but it works good. So I have a functional tank that doesn't leak. I have a working pump. I have a filter housing that was good, and so that left me with. I spent. Well, let's see here. We're gonna take a look. I wrote this down. So, all things said and done, the used tank plus the pump and the repairs that I made myself was $458. New tank with new pump plus hardware of the equivalent size from Tractor Supply was $774. So I saved $316. So as far as I'm concerned, it was worth it. It was very much worth it. So I'm not counting the time that I have into it. I'm not going to charge myself my shop rate. So $316, that's nothing to shake a stick at. Was it worth it to me? Absolutely. Buying new, especially when it comes to something that's going to go into a sensitive tractor, a newer tractor, buying new is a very safe bet. Don't blame you at all if you do that. I spent quite a bit of time cleaning this tank out, and I'm sure that there's still going to be some residue, some rust that ends up getting caught in that filter, but that's going to be fine. So yeah, some people, they have rules for themselves. There's certain things they're not willing to buy used, and in this case, that is not one of my rules for me. So what I did to upfit this was, this did not have what you're looking at as far as the hose hanger and the gun, I'm going to call it slot, or fuel nozzle slot. People get really sensitive when you say the word gun these days. So I just built that today, and that was made from just leftover material that I had before. And so the way that I secure it to my truck, I welded on some chain links. So what I did before to get it home and have it not flop around was I just ratchet strap through this hole. That's about a 1/2 inch hole, and ran that down to the hook in my truck bed. And that thing was just solid as a rock. So I figured I could still do that and then not have to weld tabs on the bottom and bolt it down. Like I said, it's only going to be in use for a few months. So everything else on here, so I didn't have to weld anything to the tank. I just used the existing tabs, and I still have a place to anchor it. The gun, or the nozzle, has a place to put a slot, and so I welded a cap on the bottom of that to keep debris out, but I left about an 1/8 of an inch gap so that whatever fuel is going to dribble out of the gun, it can still make its way out the bottom rather than filling up and just packing up with dust. So when you're driving around during hay season, hay in the truck of your bed, or the bed of your truck, I just wanted to keep hay material from shooting up into the nozzle and sticking. So and I know it's still going to get in from the top and whatever. I'm going to keep a little air compressor in my truck bed, along with a generator, so that I can, blow out my radiator and all that stuff. So I'll keep that regularly blown out. And the hose hanger, it's just a piece of 4-inch tubing that I cut in half with a cutoff wheel, and just this is all just remnant stuff. So that hanger was basically just built for free. It was my shop time. But anyway, yeah, if you're going to look at a used transfer tank, if you can test the pump, definitely make sure that you test the pump. All the rest of the stuff is pretty inexpensive and really easy to install. Make sure it doesn't leak. Make sure the pump works good. and then you can offer the person a fair price, or know what you're bidding on at an auction. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope all is going well for you. Take good care. We'll catch you on the next video.